During a heat wave, Harvard measured healthy young adults running about 13% slower on cognitive tests. Now, imagine that brain signing off on your 3 p.m. decision. Welcome back. This is Dr. Lisa, science backed, soul supported day 3 of the heat. And today is the science, what summer does to judgment. So, yay for Science Day. And I'm going to give you 3 findings and then one 10-second tool that you can use the very next time the heat has you on edge. Stay with me because the tool only makes sense once you see the deck you're stacked against. Finding 1 on your thinking, Joseph Allen and his team at Harvard, T.H. Chan School of Public Health, tracked young, healthy college students through a summer heat wave and published it in PLOS Medicine. The students in air-conditioned dorms were fine. The students in the buildings without air conditioning were about 13% slower on cognitive tests, slower reaction time, slower on basic math, 13% in healthy young adults with nothing wrong with them, purely from the heat. Now, picture that same penalty riding along on a brain that is also running a company, a team, a quarter. Now, finding 2, sleep. Kelton Miner and colleagues at the University of Copenhagen looked at more than 7 million nights of sleep data across 68 countries. Kelton Miner and colleagues at the University of Copenhagen looked at more than 7 million nights of sleep across 68 countries. On nights warmer than about 68 degrees, no, backwards, 86 degrees, people lose meaningful sleep over 86 degrees, falling asleep later, sleeping less, and it does not bounce back the next night. It stacks across a hot stretch. So a heat wave does not cost you one rough night. It draws down a sleep account to make every decision out of. Little quick personal story. In Pittsburgh, my first house did not have air conditioning. And I remember a 4th of July when my son was 3 months old, and wow, the house was so hot that we had fans going and nobody was sleeping. And I can really attest that heat makes you miserable. I think we all slept on the first floor because upstairs was just too hot. Anyway, moving on to finding 3 on your mood, which brings us back to Craig Anderson at Iowa State. Heat raises hostility and reactivity. Warmer room and people read the world as more against them. So let's stack those 3. Slower thinking, worse sleep, and a shorter fuse. And it all arrives together in the same week exactly when the quarter does not slow down to accommodate any of it. That's not a personal failing. That's a stacked. And once you see it as a stacked deck, you stop asking, what's wrong with me? And start asking, what do I do in the moment it flares? Here's the tool. At Nezzen, it comes from a framework I teach called the 7 Mindful Questions. And on a hot, reactive afternoon, you honestly only need the first question. The moment you feel that flare, the snap rising, the sharp reply forming, the heat in your chest, ask yourself question 1, what am I doing right now? And then take 1 breath before you do the next thing. That's it. Just notice and breathe. Awareness is the pause. It sounds almost too small to matter, but let me tell you why it works. The flare is your stacked deck physiology trying to drive the car. Question 1 puts you back in the driver's seat for 1 second, long enough to see that you're hot, depleted, and about to act on a question 1. Question 1 puts you back in the driver's seat for 1 second, long enough for you to see that you're hot, depleted, and about to act on the heat. The breath gives your nervous system 1 beat to slow down out of reactive gear, and in that single beat, the snap that was about to land on a person, a direct report, your kid, your partner, very often doesn't land at all. I'm aware because I care, pause and breathe. That's the whole interrupt. You're not trying to become a calmer person by force. You're catching 1 reaction, 1 time before it costs you something. And then doing it again the next time until noticing becomes the habit instead of the snapping. So the distance between stimulus and response, that's where your choice lies. That's a Viktor Frankl paraphrase. But anyway, this is your week in 1 practice. The science says summer hands you a slower mind, a shorter night, a hotter temperature, all at once. And you can't argue that deck out of your hand. You can put a question and a breath between the flare and the action. And that's where steadier leadership actually lives. Not in feeling the heat, but in what you do in the half second after you do. Tell me in the comments, what does the heat steal from you first? Is it your sleep, your focus, or your patience? I read every single answer and I really appreciate all my subscribers. So I want to know which one hits hardest for you, sleep, focus, patience, because that's usually the one worth working on first. Well, that's it for today. If this gave you one easier breath, help me pass it on. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell, drop a comment because I read every single one. And every share brings one more person into the Ned Zen community. And that's how we build this, one steadier day at a time.